She must be killed. She's a thief. This is not her first time. The crowd erupted in anger. Suddenly, a man in full army uniform forced his way through. It was Sergeant Daniel. "Please don't harm her," he shouted. Then he said the words that froze everyone. "She is my wife." The crowd went silent. The homeless girl lifted her head in shock. It was a lie, but at that moment, it was the only thing that could save the homeless girl. A lie that would change both their lives forever. Sergeant Daniel Okoye was known by everyone. Strong, brave, feared by criminals, respected by elders. Yet, behind the medals on his chest was a lonely man who returned every night to an empty house. His wife had left years ago, begging him to quit the army. She said she loved him, but fear won that battle. When she walked away, Daniel buried himself deeper into his duty, telling himself that love was not meant for men like him. Every morning before the sun fully rose, Daniel walked out in his uniform, boots heavy against the ground. And every morning near the broken bus stop by the old market, a homeless woman stood there. Her clothes were worn, her hair always tied neatly, and her face carried a gentle peace that did not match her condition. She waved at Daniel with a soft smile as if she had known him all her life. Daniel never waved back. Not once. He walked past her like she did not exist. Still she never stopped. As he walked away, she would whisper a short prayer, asking God to protect him and bring him back home safely. This went on for months. Rain or shine. Some days Daniel noticed her lips moving as she prayed, other days he pretended not to see her at all. But then one morning something changed. The woman was not there. The bus stop was empty. No smile. No wave. No prayer. Daniel walked a few steps, then stopped. His chest felt tight, like something important had been taken without warning. He shook it off and continued, but all day at work her absence followed him like a shadow. That night, for the first time in years, Sergeant Daniel Okoye could not sleep. Daniel could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. The next morning he asked everyone he met about her. "Have you seen the lady at the bus stop?" He asked the market sellers, the guards, even children playing by the roadside. Each time the answer was the same: "No, Sergeant." Panic began to creep into his chest. She had never caused trouble. She only waved and prayed. How could she just vanish like that? His search grew desperate. Daniel visited nearby hospitals, thinking maybe she had been hit by a car or fallen ill. At each reception desk he gave her description, but no one had seen her. Each no weighed heavily on his heart. Nights became long and sleepless. His mind replayed every smile she had given him, every wave, every small prayer whispered on his behalf. His chest ached in ways he could not explain. He gave orders to his men to search the neighborhood, check the streets, the abandoned houses, even the river banks, but nothing turned up. Then one afternoon, fate intervened. Daniel was driving home when his car, the one that had never failed him before, broke down in the middle of the road. He stepped out, furious but also anxious, and called a nearby mechanic. The man said it would take some time, so Daniel sat on the curb, leaning against his car, trying to calm his restless mind. That's when he heard it, a commotion from a short distance away. A crowd had gathered, shouting, arguing, and accusing someone. "She is a thief. She stole again," a voice yelled. "She must be punished," another shouted, raising a hand as if ready to strike. Daniel's heart sank as he pushed through the crowd. When he finally saw the person at the center, his chest froze. It was her. The homeless lady, the same gentle woman who had waved and prayed for him every morning, was on the ground, trying to hold onto a small loaf of bread. He stepped forward, his uniform heavy with authority. "Stop. Step back. Calm down." His voice carried like thunder over the angry voices. "What has she done?" "She stole bread, Sergeant," a man shouted. "This is not the first time." Daniel's eyes softened as he looked at her trembling form. "Just bread?" he asked, almost whispering to himself. He could feel the crowd's anger rising, their judgment heavy in the air. "Oga soldier, leave this woman to us. We will punish her ourselves," someone shouted. Daniel's heart pounded, but he did not raise his voice in anger. Instead he looked around, pleading with his presence alone. She did that out of hunger and desperation. "She has done wrong," he admitted, "but I will take responsibility. Forgive her. Let me pay for what she owes. She is under my protection." The crowd hesitated, muttered, then slowly parted. Daniel helped the woman to her feet, feeling the weight of her frail body in his arms. By the time he reached the mechanic, the car was already fixed. Without a word he helped her inside the car. The engine roared to life, but Daniel's mind was elsewhere. Where would he take her? What could he say? He drove in silence, the woman sitting quietly, eyes downcast, hands folded in her lap. When they reached his house, he guided her to a small room he had prepared, a place clean and warm with a bed, water, and fresh clothes. She looked at him, confusion and shame written across her face. Daniel only nodded. Rest. You are safe now. It was in that quiet moment, as she sank onto the bed, that she began to speak. The story she had never told anyone, the life that led her to the streets, and the unbearable struggle that had made her invisible to the world. Sergeant Daniel watched her sink onto the small bed, her shoulders trembling slightly, and he felt a strange, unfamiliar tenderness tug at his heart. Rest, he said softly. Have some meal first. You must be hungry. He pointed toward the corner table where he had laid out simple but warm food, rice, stew, and a piece of fruit. She looked up at him, eyes wide, unsure if she was allowed to eat without causing offense. Daniel simply smiled and nodded. I will also call my doctor, he added. I want to make sure you are okay. Maybe some of these bruises need attention. He picked up his phone and dialed quickly. Within minutes, Dr. Chaik, a trusted personal physician, arrived. He moved around the small room with efficiency, checking her arms, legs, and a bruise forming near her temple. You have been through a lot, Dr. Chaik said gently. Nothing seems broken, but we will clean the wounds and apply some ointment. The homeless woman, finally sitting in safety and warmth, allowed herself to breathe. No shouting, no stares, no hands ready to punish her. Only calm. Only care. Daniel sat in a chair nearby, watching quietly as Dr. Chaik worked. She had never experienced anything like this. Someone defending her, feeding her, tending to her injuries. Her lips trembled and a tear slipped down her cheek, but she tried to hide it. When Dr. Chaik finished, Daniel poured her a glass of water. Drink. Take your time. You are safe here, he said softly. His voice carried an unspoken promise that no one would harm her again under his watch. For the first time in years she felt seen. Not as a thief, not as a shadow in the streets, but as a human being worthy of care and attention. She finally nodded, took a small sip of water, and let herself relax. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that spoke of safety and hope. And in that moment, as Daniel observed her for the first time without the barrier of uniform duty or the streets between them, he realized something deep within himself. He cared. More than he thought possible. More than he could admit. After she had eaten and rested for a while, Daniel spoke again gently. Whenever you are ready, I would like to hear your story. I want to understand everything. She looked at him, surprise and fear mingling in her eyes, but slowly, a small spark of trust began to grow. After a long moment of silence, the woman finally spoke, her voice soft and trembling. My name is Amara, she began, and I didn't choose this life. I lost everything I ever loved. My parents, they died when I was very young. I had an older brother, but he got caught up in the wrong crowd and he left too. I had nowhere to go. Her hands twisted nervously in her lap, and Daniel watched closely, feeling a pang of sorrow for every word. I tried to live with distant relatives, she continued, but they didn't want me. They said I was trouble, that I would cause shame. So I left. I thought I could survive on my own, work small jobs, earn a little money. But it never lasted. Every day was a fight, finding food, avoiding people who wanted to take advantage of me, and staying alive in the streets. There were nights I went hungry, sleeping under rain, under trees, wishing someone would see me, just see me as a person. Tears fell freely now, and Daniel felt an ache in his chest. The woman who had always greeted him with a smile had endured so much pain without ever showing it. I stole once, maybe twice, only to survive. That bread today, I didn't have anything to eat. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I just wanted to live, she whispered, voice breaking. Daniel's hands clenched into fists, anger and sorrow mixed together. He could not believe the cruelty of the world toward someone so gentle. Amara, he said quietly, you should never have suffered alone like this. No one should ever treat a person like this, not you. His voice was firm, but there was warmth in it, a protection she had never known. For the first time in years, Amara allowed herself to breathe, to trust someone, to let her walls fall just a little. Daniel sat silently, listening, letting her speak, letting her release the pain she had carried so long. And somewhere deep inside him, something shifted. It was no longer just pity. He felt admiration, compassion, and a strange pull in his heart that he could not explain. As the sun dipped behind the horizon outside the small window, Daniel realized that in saving her from the angry crowd, he had also begun to save himself, from the emptiness he had carried since the day his wife left. He had found a reason to care, to protect, and perhaps, to love. The days that followed were quiet but filled with small, meaningful moments. Daniel made sure Amara had food, a clean bed, and clothes that didn't smell of the street. He even arranged for her to bathe properly and gave her space to regain her dignity. At first she was shy, unsure how to act around someone so strong, so kind, yet so unfamiliar. But Daniel's patience never wavered. He never rushed her, never demanded more than she could give. Slowly, the walls she had built around her heart began to crumble. She shared more stories, small memories of her childhood, dreams she once had of going to school, of helping her community. Daniel listened, sometimes smiling, sometimes shaking his head in disbelief at the hardships she had endured. He began to feel something he hadn't felt in years, a warmth that grew every time she looked at him, every time her lips curved into that gentle smile at him, the same smile that had haunted his thoughts since her disappearance. One evening, as they sat by the window watching the sunset, Daniel found himself asking, "Amara, have you ever had someone care for you like this?" She shook her head, eyes glistening. "No, never. Not like this. I never thought someone like you could care for someone like me." Daniel's voice softened. "You are not just anyone. You are Amara. And you deserve to be treated with kindness, respect, and love." Her eyes widened, heart pounding. She had never imagined that someone so strong, so respected, could look at her this way, not as a homeless woman, not as a thief, but as a person worthy of love. Days turned into weeks, and Daniel and Amara spent time together, sharing laughter, tears, and stories of their pasts. The bond between them grew stronger, built on trust, care, and understanding. Daniel even began to teach her small things about self-defense, discipline, and confidence, helping her feel secure and independent. In return, Amara taught him patience, humility, and how small acts of kindness could heal the deepest wounds. Then, one afternoon, Daniel received a letter from his estranged wife. She had heard rumors about him helping a homeless woman, and now she wanted to return, claiming she had changed. Daniel read the words slowly, his chest tightening, but his gaze fell on Amara. The woman who had survived streets, loneliness, and despair had become his anchor, the light he never knew he needed. He looked at her, heart pounding. Could he really let go of what had grown between them? Could he let someone who left him in the past take the place of the woman who had saved his heart in the present? The question lingered, heavy with suspense. Daniel sat in his office that evening, the letter from his wife lying unopened on the desk. The walls around him were silent, but inside, his heart was in turmoil. Memories of her, the woman who had once shared his life, flickered briefly, but every thought came back to Amara, the gentle smile, the whispered prayers, the quiet strength that had carried her through unimaginable hardship. For the first time, Daniel realized that love was not about status, wealth, or appearances. It was about who made your heart feel alive, who made you care without question, without fear. He remembered the moment he had found her on the streets, surrounded by angry voices. He had defended her, not because he owed her anything, but because he could not bear to see injustice. And in doing so, he had discovered something he hadn't expected. His heart had been waiting for her all along. The thought of her smile, her laughter, the way she looked at him with trust and curiosity, made the choice clear. Daniel stood, picked up his phone, and sent a message to his wife. "I cannot undo the past, but my heart is here now. I have found where I belong." The next morning, Daniel went to Amara's room. She was seated by the window, watching the sunrise, a soft blanket around her shoulders. He knelt beside her, taking her hands in his. "Amara," he said, voice steady but tender, "I cannot promise the world will always be easy, but I can promise you this. I will always protect you, care for you, and love you." Her eyes widened, tears spilling freely, not from sorrow but from relief and overwhelming joy. "Daniel, I never dared to hope," she whispered. He smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Hope, Amara, it's never too late. You've given me hope too, more than you know." In the days that followed, the community watched in awe as the soldier and the once homeless woman began to walk together openly. Daniel's strength and Amara's resilience created a bond that could not be broken. Neighbors who had doubted her, who had once seen her as nothing, now saw her for what she was. A survivor, a woman with courage, and a partner to the man who had once been alone. Their love story was not born from wealth, beauty, or chance. It was born from compassion, trust, and the quiet moments where hearts recognize one another. Daniel and Amara had discovered that sometimes, the greatest love comes from the most unexpected places. And as they sat together one evening, holding hands and watching the stars, Daniel asked softly, almost to himself, "Amara, do you think the world can ever understand how love like this begins?"